In the annals of Nigerian history, one name evokes both fear and fascination: General Sani Abacha. A soldier, a ruler, a man who rose through the ranks to become Nigeria's most powerful leader, leaving behind a legacy shrouded in controversy. Was he a necessary force of control during a time of turmoil, or a symbol of absolute power and corruption? Stay tuned as we cover the rise and fall of General Sani Abacha. General Sani Abacha, GCFR, born September 20th, 1943, died June 8th, 1998, was a Nigerian military dictator and statesman who ruled the country with an authoritarian grip as the military head of state from 1993, following a palace coup, until his sudden death in 1998. His rise to power marked the last successful coup d'etat in Nigeria's military history. Abacha governed with a relentless approach, showing little tolerance for dissent, and his regime was characterized by widespread human rights abuses, including numerous political assassinations and summary executions of critics and opponents. Nigeria's international reputation suffered during his tenure, notably due to the execution of environmental activist Ken Saro-Wiwa, which cemented the country's status as a pariah state in global relations. Despite these issues, his government achieved certain economic milestones. Abacha is remembered as one of the most corrupt dictators of the 20th century, allegedly embezzling between $2 to $5 billion. He and his family reportedly stashed much of the stolen funds abroad in Switzerland, as well as in other jurisdictions like Liechtenstein, the United Kingdom, and the United States. His death on June 8, 1998, paved the way for the establishment of Nigeria's Fourth Republic a year later, with General Abdulsalami Abubakar succeeding him as head of state. Early life of General Sani Abacha. Sani Abacha was born and raised in Kano to a Kanuri family, whose origins trace back to what is now Borno State. His early education laid the foundation for his military career. Abacha enrolled at the Nigerian Military Training College in Kaduna, where he began his formal military training. To further enhance his military skills, he attended the prestigious Mons Officer Cadet School in Aldershot, England. After completing his training, Abacha was commissioned into the Nigerian Army in 1963, marking the start of a lengthy and impactful career in the military. Military career of General Sani Abacha. Abacha's military career was distinguished by his involvement in nearly all of the significant coups that took place in Nigeria during his service. In 1966, while still a second lieutenant serving with the 3rd Battalion in Kaduna, he played a key role in the July 1966 Nigerian counter-coup, participating from the early planning stages. It's also possible that he had a hand in the earlier coup attempts in Lagos or Abeokuta during the January 1966 unrest. In 1969, Abacha fought in the Nigerian Civil War, where he served as both a platoon and battalion commander. His leadership and tactical abilities saw him rise through the ranks, and in 1975, he was appointed commander of the 2nd Infantry Division. By 1983, Abacha had become the general officer commanding the 2nd Mechanized Division and was appointed to the Supreme Military Council, the ruling body of Nigeria's military government. That same year, he played a pivotal role in the 1983 Nigerian coup d'etat, which ousted the civilian government and brought General Muhammadu Buhari to power. Just 2 years later, in 1985, Abacha was involved in another coup, this time leading to the overthrow of Buhari and the rise of General Ibrahim Babangida as Nigeria's leader. Following Babangita's ascension, Abacha's career continued its upward trajectory. In 1985, he was appointed Chief of Army Staff, one of the most powerful military positions in Nigeria. In 1990, he was named Minister of Defense, further solidifying his influence within the military and political circles. Abacha's service record is notable for the fact that he became the first Nigerian army officer to attain the rank of a full military general without skipping any ranks. He served as Chief of Army Staff from 1985 to 1990, Chief of Defense Staff from 1990 to 1993, and as Minister of Defense until his eventual rise to power as Nigeria's head of state. Seizure of power. At the height of the crisis that engulfed Nigeria's Third Republic, Sani Abacha was the defense minister and the most senior official within the military hierarchy. Leveraging his position, he orchestrated the coup d'etat in 1993 that toppled the interim national government led by Ernest Shonkan. In his nationwide broadcast following the coup, Abacha justified the overthrow by portraying it as a necessary step to restore stability, which had been compromised by the socio-political turmoil following the annulment of the 1993 presidential election. Details of the 1993 coup. The 1993 Nigerian coup d'etat occurred on November 17, 1993, and was a bloodless military takeover. The armed forces, led by General Sani Abacha, who at the time was the defense minister, forced interim President-Chief Ernest Shonkan to resign from his position. Shonkan had only assumed office on August 26, 1993, succeeding General Ibrahim Babangida, who had annulled the June 12, 1993 presidential election, a decision that caused widespread unrest. In his post-coup broadcast, Abacha pointed to Shonkan's government's inability to manage the nation's transition to democracy, as well as its ineffectiveness in governing, as reasons for his intervention. Abacha moved swiftly to consolidate power. In September 1994, he issued a decree that effectively placed his government above the courts, granting him nearly absolute authority. Another decree gave him the power to detain anyone for up to 3 months without trial, which significantly curtailed civil liberties. Maintenance of power under Abacha's regime. To secure his regime, Abacha established a formidable personal security force consisting of 3,000 men trained in North Korea and placed his chief security officer, Hamza al-Mustafa, in charge of military security. Al-Mustafa held a firm grip on the security apparatus, ensuring loyalty to Abacha. During his rule, the Nigerian police force also underwent large-scale retraining to align with the regime's objectives. The state moved ruthlessly against criminals and dissenters, cracking down on opposition groups such as the National Democratic Coalition, NDCO, which was linked to several bombings across Nigeria. Many members of NDCO were arrested, and the government maintained strict control over political activities. When Mashood Abiola, the presumed winner of the annulled 1993 election, declared himself president, Abacha swiftly had him arrested for treason, and he later died in custody. In a similar move, former military leader Olusegun Obasanjo and General Oladipo Dia were imprisoned on charges of plotting a coup. General Shehu Yar'Adua, another political figure who was detained under Abacha's rule, also died in custody in 1997. The regime was further condemned internationally for its human rights violations, especially after the execution of Ken Saro-Wiwa, an Ogoni activist who opposed the exploitation of Nigeria's natural resources by multinational oil companies like Royal Dutch Shell. Saro-Wiwa's execution led to Nigeria's suspension from the Commonwealth of Nations. Prominent figures like Wole Soyinka were charged with treason in absentia. Abacha's administration faced staunch opposition from external pro-democracy activists who sought to bring attention to his regime's oppressive policies. Economic policies and achievements. Despite the repressive nature of his regime, Abacha's government made significant economic strides. Under his leadership, Nigeria's foreign exchange reserves grew from $494 million in 1993 to an impressive $9.6 billion by the middle of 1997. His administration also managed to reduce Nigeria's external debt from $36 billion in 1993 to $27 billion by 1997. Abacha embarked on various infrastructure projects, constructing between 25 and 100 kilometers of urban roads in major cities such as Kano, Gusau, Benin, Funtua, Zaria, Enugu, Kaduna, Aba, Lagos, Lokoja, and Port Harcourt. One of Abacha's most significant economic achievements was his ability to reduce the country's inflation rate, which had soared to 54% during the tenure of Ernest Shonkan. By the end of Abacha's reign, inflation had been brought down to 8.5%. His administration halted the privatization programs initiated by Ibrahim Babangida and navigated an era of low oil prices, with oil selling at an average of $15 per barrel. Despite these achievements, economic growth was largely confined to the petroleum sector, with GDP growth remaining modest compared to expectations. Embezzlement of state funds by General Sani Abacha. Abacha's economic accomplishments were overshadowed by the massive embezzlement of state funds during his regime, which became infamously known as the Abacha loot. Allegations of corruption centered around the theft of billions of dollars from Nigeria's treasury. Abacha's national security advisor, Alhaji Ismaila Gwarzo, was accused of playing a pivotal role in the systematic looting, with help from Abacha's son, Muhammad Abacha, and close associate Alhaji Muhammad M. Sada. A preliminary report released by the transitional government of Abdul Salami Abubakar in November 1998 detailed how Abacha would approve fake national security funding requests made by Gwarzo. The Central Bank of Nigeria would then send the requested funds, often in cash or traveler's checks, to Gwarzo, who would deliver them to Abacha's residence. Muhammad Sada facilitated the laundering of these funds into offshore accounts. It was estimated that around $1.4 billion was transferred in this manner. In 2004, Abacha was ranked as the fourth most corrupt leader in the world over the previous 2 decades, with estimates of the amount he and his family stole ranging from $1 billion to $5 billion. In 2002, rumors circulated that the Abacha family had agreed to return $1.2 billion of the stolen money. However, some sources within the Olusegun Obasanjo administration claimed that the Abacha loot was politically exploited for Obasanjo's re-election bid. On August 7, 2014, the United States Department of Justice announced the forfeiture of $480 million, marking the largest such recovery in history, which was returned to the Nigerian government. Additionally, authorities in Jersey discovered more than $267 million, equivalent to 210 million pounds, laundered through the U.S. banking system and held in Jersey bank accounts. More than 20 years after Abacha's death, in 2019, a civil asset forfeiture case involving the U.S., Jersey, and the Nigerian government was resolved, and the funds were repatriated and divided among the parties involved. National politics of General Sani Abacha, GCFR. During his time in power, Sani Abacha made significant changes to Nigeria's political landscape, most notably by reorganizing the country into 6 geopolitical zones. This reorganization was designed to reflect the distinct cultural, economic, and political realities of the various regions. The zones created were North Central, Northeast, Northwest, South-South, Southwest, and Southeast. To further this restructuring, Abacha added 6 new states to the already existing 30, bringing the total number of states in Nigeria to the present 36. This move was seen as a way to balance power and resources more equitably across the country. In an attempt to address Nigeria's political future, Abacha convened a constitutional conference between 1993 and 1995 to discuss the country's governance. Then, early in 1998, he made a public announcement that elections would be held on August 1st, with the goal of transitioning to a civilian government by October 1st. However, as time passed, it became clear that Abacha had no intention of stepping down. By April 1998, he had effectively coerced the country's 5 major political parties into endorsing him as their sole presidential candidate. This consolidation of power marked his ambition to continue ruling indefinitely, and any hope of a transition to civilian rule was quashed. Abacha's foreign policy. Abacha's foreign policy was marked by both controversy and strategic interventions. A major stain on his international relations was Nigeria's suspension from the Commonwealth of Nations in 1995. This came in response to the execution of the renowned environmental activist Ken Saro-Wiwa and other Ogoni leaders, which drew widespread international condemnation. Prior to the execution, while hosting South African leader Nelson Mandela, Abacha revealed that he had been advised against interfering in Saro-Wiwa's trial. He assured Mandela that, as head of state, he would commute the sentence if a death penalty was imposed. However, despite these assurances, Abacha did nothing to prevent the execution, and Saro-Wiwa was hanged under the orders of Justice Ibrahim Atta. Abacha's foreign relations weren't limited to his dealings with the Commonwealth. In 1997, he hosted Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi as part of Gaddafi's West African tour, which marked the Islamic New Year. This visit violated United Nations sanctions on Libya, Yet Abacha received Gaddafi with open arms. Thousands of Abacha's supporters turned out in Kano to show their loyalty to both leaders. Gaddafi, seeking to further his Pan-African agenda, was eager to strengthen ties with Nigeria, seeing it as a crucial player in his vision for African unity. Abacha also played a key role in regional peacekeeping efforts. His intervention in the Liberian Civil War was significant as he deployed Nigerian troops through the Economic Community of West African States Monitoring Group, ECOMOG. The Liberian Civil War, which erupted in 1989, had become a regional crisis, and Nigeria under Abacha's leadership was a major player in efforts to stabilize the country. Nigerian troops had already been deployed in 1990 when Abacha was still serving as defense minister, but his involvement in the conflict deepened after he took control of the government. Despite facing criticism from international bodies, including the U.S. State Department, Abacha managed to cultivate relationships with certain American political figures. In 1997, U.S. Senator James Inhofe visited Nigeria as a representative of the family, a group of evangelical Christian politicians and civic leaders. This group maintained a business and political relationship with Abacha until his death. Furthermore, Abacha fostered ties with notable African-American figures such as Senator Carol Moseley Braun, civil rights leader Reverend Jesse Jackson, and Minister Louis Farrakhan. Farrakhan, in particular, became a vocal supporter of Abacha's administration. During Abacha's reign, several African-American leaders visited Nigeria, engaging in dialogue with his government, which helped to somewhat counterbalance the international criticism he faced from Western powers. Personal life and death of General Sani Abacha. General Sani Abacha was married to Mariam Abacha, with whom he had a large family. Together, they were blessed with 7 sons and 3 daughters, a family that would continue to grow over the years. As of 2018, Abacha had 33 grandchildren. His family, especially his wife, played a prominent role in Nigerian society during his regime, and Mariam Abacha was particularly well known for her charitable efforts. Abacha's facial scars were the result of traditional tribal markings, a practice common in some parts of Nigeria, and these markings symbolized his heritage and identity. They were distinctive features that added to his persona as a strong and traditional leader. The circumstances surrounding Abacha's death on Monday, June 8, 1998, remain controversial and have been the subject of numerous rumors and conspiracy theories. He died unexpectedly at the Aso Rock Presidential Villa in Abuja, the seat of Nigeria's government. In accordance with Islamic customs, he was buried the same day, without an autopsy, a decision that raised many questions and fueled speculation about the true cause of his death. While the official explanation given by the government was that Abacha suffered a sudden heart attack, there were whispers among both Nigerians and international observers that something more sinister had occurred. Foreign diplomats and U.S. intelligence analysts have speculated that Abacha might have been poisoned. His chief security officer, Hamza al-Mustafa, suggested that Israeli operatives, allegedly present during a visit by Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat, were responsible for the poisoning. Despite the many rumors, no concrete evidence has ever surfaced to prove these theories. At the time of his death, it was widely believed that Abacha was on the verge of transitioning the country back to civilian rule, with elections scheduled for October 1998. This transition plan, which had been set in motion as early as 1995, was never realized under his leadership. After Abacha's death, General Abdul Salami Abubakar assumed the role of head of state. Abubakar's brief time in power would pave the way for the establishment of the Fourth Nigerian Republic, marking a return to civilian governance. Dates of rank of General Sani Abacha. Abacha's military career was marked by steady and rapid advancement through the ranks, as he played a role in several pivotal moments in Nigerian history. Here is a timeline of the key milestones in his military career. In 1963, Abacha was commissioned as a second lieutenant, marking the official start of his career in the Nigerian army. In 1966, he was promoted to the rank of lieutenant. By 1967, Abacha had risen to the rank of captain, taking on greater responsibilities in the army during a time of political instability. In 1969, during the height of the Nigerian Civil War, Abacha achieved the rank of major, further cementing his role as a key military figure. In 1972, he was promoted to lieutenant colonel. By 1975, Abacha had attained the rank of colonel, a significant step in his military journey as Nigeria continued to experience a series of military coups. In 1980, Abacha became a brigadier general, solidifying his status as a top-ranking officer in the Nigerian army. By 1984, during the period of military rule, he was promoted to major general. In 1987, Abacha reached the prestigious rank of lieutenant general, a testament to his long-standing influence in the military. Finally, in October 1990, Sani Abacha achieved the rank of general, the highest rank in the Nigerian army, making him one of the most powerful figures in the country's military history. Abacha's career progression mirrored the turbulent political landscape of Nigeria, and his rise through the ranks was a reflection of both his ambition and his ability to navigate the complex world of military politics. From his rise in the military to his sudden and mysterious death, Abacha's legacy is as complex as the nation he once ruled. The debates over his impact, his motives, and his vision for Nigeria will continue for generations. Make sure you subscribe to Supreme News for more documentary. Thank you.